There are just so many flowers in bloom on the allotment today, and I can't wait for you to join me on the tour so I can show you them. Hey, welcome back to the allotment at the end of May. I've got some peas to plant out because look how big they are. I really want to get these in the ground, so they're going to be going into my veggie patch, and they'll be growing in the ground, not in containers, in this patch here. So before we start the tour, I want to get a couple of jobs done, so I thought you might like to join me. And these are the peas that I sowed, when was it? I think it was the middle of April, and I've got a couple of different varieties. One is called telegraph pole, I think, and these can reach easily 8 foot. I don't have supports that are 8 foot tall, so we'll see how that goes. And I've also got some Hurst green shaft as well, which is a really reliable cropper. And I've grown them on in these root trainers. So they've got really, really deep roots. And if I open this one up, hopefully there'll be lots of nice long roots on there. That one must have failed. Put that compost on the bed, and yeah, they've got some really nice long happy healthy roots, but it's time to get them in the ground and to give them some support as well. So I've got some canes that I cut back in the winter time from my hedge. They're actually from the sycamore tree that I have to cut back every year, so they'll be climbing up those with a bit of string for those tendrils to cling on to. It's actually turned quite breezy and grey. It was really rather lovely weather early this morning. So first I need to get my canes. Now I haven't decided if I'm going to do 1 or 2 little teepees. I think I might do 2. And I put them next to that potato plant. So it's just a case of pushing down these supports so that they've got something to climb. Yeah, I think 2 would be better, and then we'll tie those up, providing I have enough canes. You want to push them in nice and deep so that there's no risk of it falling over. I do like to use 5 canes. I just think it works better with an odd number. And we're going to tie these top ends together. It's only the telegraph one that's a very tall variety. Hurst green shaft will not get quite that tall. But hey, maybe they'll reach up to the tree above. So I've got my hori, and I'm just going to carefully take out each of these peas. They need to go nice and deep. Peas love to root deeply, and they like to stay cool and quite shaded at the roots, which is why it's a good idea, if you can, to try and keep the roots in the shade but their heads in the sun, which is why I've kept my buckets of salad here at the front in hope that that will shade out the root a little bit from the summer heat. Now I need to get some twine around the base of this so that they can start to climb. And yes, you can plant them very deeply and also quite close together, so I'm just going to give a couple of centimetres, 5 centimetres between each. But I did have 2 peas per plug, so some of them have 2 in and some only have 1 where they may have failed. Peas are just one of the best allotment snacks in my opinion. They're so fresh and green tasting. You know, food that just tastes green. They just taste so good. Now I've kept the soil nice and damp. It's been so dry this month. May's been very dry, quite warm. We're having very warm days. It's reaching about 20 degrees now, which means we're doing a lot of watering already, but it's still quite cold at night, which is, well, it's caught me out once or twice, because when I still have the tunnel doors closed, it reached like 50 degrees in the daytime, but it's getting down to like 6 at night still, which is really quite cold for this time of the year. Which means my peppers and my chilies are still at home, and I don't know the last time I had my chilies at home still at the end of May going into June, although to be fair there's not much room for them at the minute anyway. But yes, it's just been very lots of swings in temperature, so yes, it's been a bit stressful trying to keep all of the plants happy and healthy. Oops. But I'm just glad that they're now starting to go into the ground so that I don't have to water them quite as much as when they're in the tunnel. Tray number 3. Oh no, they're all caught up together. Yeah, I really should have planted these out a while ago. Look at those. And the one thing that I must do is also protect them from the birds, because the pigeons absolutely love to nibble at pea foliage. But first I'm going to string up the pea. Just going to tie it to that bottom edge and then running it along, because unlike beans that twist themselves up a cane, peas don't do that. It's their little tendrils that hold on to a much finer string or wire. They just need something to grab onto. So I'm going to run my string all the way along and up this little structure. I like to keep the levels quite close initially and then get a little bit wider as it goes up, because when they're still young they just benefit from quite a lot of support to help them get off to a good start. Sometimes I'll just do the bottom layer and then think, oh, I'll do the rest as it grows. I've learnt my lesson. Just do the whole thing first time, because they grow so quickly and you always get distracted by other jobs that are more important at the time. So I'm just going to go the whole way up. Then we're just going to try and tease the peas into the framework a little bit, and then once those tendrils find the string they'll be able to find their own way. You don't have to tie them in or anything, just bring them up so they're not flopping around. Now it seems a shame to cover them up, but I just know they're going to get decimated by the pigeons if I don't, so I need to get some netting out. This is just a fine sort of mesh, a bit like EnviroMesh that keeps carrot fly away. So it's very, very fine, so the light will still be able to penetrate through. And I've just got some clothesline pegs to attach it. So if I wrap it around the entire thing, I should be able to bring it back round. I may also tuck this under a little bit. Don't want any hedgehogs or rodents getting their claws stuck in this mesh, so do be careful. I know it may look a bit excessive, but I really like peas and I want to have some, so that's what I've got to do. Now is actually a really good time to be sowing beans as well, and I've emptied those root trainers now, which means I could get some beans sown into them instead, because they also like a really deep root run. I'm not sure, I've still got room, there's loads of room. I might get some borlotti beans in, but not right now because it's starting to get quite grey, and I think we should perhaps start the tour, and I've got a couple of other jobs I might do as we go around. So let's head up to the gate and yeah, see all the flowers and see what's growing on the allotment today. The hawthorn tree above my gate has had its big bloom, and they're now starting to fall on me like confetti, and they're starting to turn a dusky shade of light pink as they fall. It was gorgeous while it lasted, and yes, let's go see what's going on the plot. At the moment, the most spectacular things are predominantly the foxgloves and the alliums, but there's something down here in Grandma's border that I'm going to give a little bit of a trim, and it's this, my sedum. Have you heard of the Chelsea chop? Because now's the time to do it, and that's what I'm going to do now. Now, I haven't actually given my sedum a Chelsea chop before, but I think it will benefit it. The Chelsea chop is when you cut back certain perennials, not all perennials, but sedum is one of them, and we're going to cut it back by about a third. And what that's going to do is it will delay the flowering, so it'll flower a little bit later on in the year, but more importantly it will keep it nice and compact and dense, because sedum has the tendency to sometimes get too big and tall. Then the flower heads, those big blooms on those wide sort of pink pads, can get quite heavy, especially if we have heavy rain or there's a storm, and they'll flop over and then they'll just look awful. But by giving it a Chelsea chop at this time, it will help keep them nice and compact. And we call it the Chelsea chop because the Chelsea flower show is on at the moment, and that's the time to do it. So basically very late May. And I don't have my loppers on me because I left them at home. But essentially you can be very brutal and just hack it back by about a third. And you could probably use these as cuttings if you wanted to. Sedum is especially very, very easy to propagate from cuttings. And I think because this grows in, well, it doesn't grow in the best conditions, to be honest. It doesn't get as much sun as it'd probably like, but it does still flower very, very well. I wonder if keeping it more compact will help keep it nice and dense and stop it from getting too floppy. If you were to make cuttings from these, you strip off all of the lower leaves. You want about a 10 centimetre shoot. I'd also pinch out the growing tip to leave a pair of leaves like that, and then just stick that into some really gritty compost and keep it damp, and there you go. You'll very quickly get lots of sedum cuttings. Grandma's border looks absolutely gorgeous right now. We've got here the geranium, Johnson's blue, that will soon be coming out. I can see lots of flower buds there right at the top, and we've got rose buds on the Mary Rose, David Austin Rose, and then we've got alliums. This is Purple Sensation, not too large, a nice size, good dark purple colour on those, and they're dotted throughout the border. But the ones behind them, these two, just coming out now, still a little bit early. It'll be a great big ball soon. Hello bee. This one is called Allium Christophii. It's one that I've grown on here for quite a few years now. Fantastic for drying if you want a nice big seed head for your home decorations. Oh look, we've got another rosebud. That one's just about to come up. But yeah, the roses are doing really, really well. I did mulch them and I'm watering them well because I only planted them a couple of years ago after my grandmother died. And the not bindweed, sticky weed this year, don't know about you, but I'm finding it's just gone absolutely bonkers. Oh, I can see some baby robins behind me. Can you hear them? Sorry, distraction. And as we go further down, more alliums, and look at that. Here's the same rose but full bloom and blown out a little bit. It's absolutely stunning. It smells quite lightly rosy as well. It's not too heavily perfumed, it's just right. And this one in particular has got so many more buds on it to come. Really, really excited. And then just a little bit further, plants that were actually from my grandmother's garden, is the peony. Yes, it's covered in ants, but that's fine. I don't mind. They're not going to impact the blooms at all. And I've got at least 4 or 5 on this plant, which I'm really happy about, as I transplanted them from her garden. And I have actually put in a support hoop further down there. Look, can you see the rusty colour? Just to stop any rain damage from pulling them down and to help keep them nice and tall. So yeah, Grandma's border is looking absolutely splendid right now. Got some delphiniums as well in blue, her favourite colour. And there is a bit of a lupin down there somewhere in the forget-me-not. I'm hoping that survived and hasn't been completely swallowed by everything. Oh, the rose. The new rose that I planted that's called Woollerton Old Hall, that's going to climb up this tree. I've put in the first little support there, so I've tied it in, and we're going to train it all around, keeping it as horizontal like that as we can. We don't want to go straight up, that's a no-no. We want to keep it nice and low. Yes, it might take a bit longer to get to the top, but keeping it horizontal encourages more flower buds to bloom. So we've got two tied in at the minute, and we've got another shoot there ready to romp away. So I'm just so excited to see how tall this gets by the end of summer. Right in front of me on the path, I've actually got a few nigella here that have self-seeded, and that's another blue one. Oh, she would have loved this. And then there's some red campion. It's got that lovely silvery foliage, really soft, and that'll have a bright pink flower on it very, very soon. And right at the end we've got a mix of alliums, foxgloves, and a mix of colours of foxgloves. We've got the pink and a white there, look. One of my favourite spring flowers. And aren't they just stunning? I mean, look at this one. It's so tall. In fact, it's so tall, it's taller than me. I'm not very tall, I guess. I'm like 5'2", if you didn't know. Yeah, look at that. All the way to the tippy top. Absolutely stunning. One of my favourite flowers for spring. And they're everywhere. Do you remember last year? I actually purposefully took these as seed heads and just sprinkled them everywhere around the plot, and she rewarded me with so many. Honestly, love them so much. So this bed under the dead plum tree, oh gosh, look at it from this side, with that hawthorn that's just starting to go over. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning, isn't it? I love this time of the year so much. But I've got 4 or 5 buckets of salad, and this isn't even the best one. The best one I took home because it was just so swamped with leaves. I harvested them, and I mean, look at that, you can't beat that. Just fresh salad. So it's got a few varieties. Then these ones I only recently planted out, as you may have seen in a different video. The peas, they're all in there, nice and tucked away. And the potatoes, well, look. They are massive. I can't believe how much these have grown in like 2 weeks. So the buckets are now filled mostly to the top, although to be fair I could have filled them up a bit more, but can't really get to it now. Whoops. And then at the back we've got another planter of salads and some beetroot that I could keep there. I could move a bit further forward, but they don't mind too much shade. And there's Grandma's border from this angle. I can't wait to see that rose climb all the way up over here. Look at all the foxgloves. Isn't that just incredible? Turning around, we've got my strawberry cages, and I'm keeping the lid up at the moment so that all the bees can get in and pollinate all these flowers, which they can do anyway because the wire, chicken wire, is big enough for bees to get in. But look, we've got so many flower buds coming. If it'll focus, come on camera. Loads of flower buds. Hoping it's going to be a really good year for strawberries. And then we've got the second cage also full. And then look at that honesty. I didn't have the heart to rip it out, so I took the lid off my cage so that it could grow. And actually it's about ready for harvesting those, so I can dry them. And then we come to the alliums. I'm so excited. This is where the squash will be going, and behind we've got alliums again that I'll be drying, some of which for the wedding, At the front here, Allium Christophii, and these are not yet fully open, but further back, I mean the absolute star of the show, are these. So you've got a double sort of bloom on this, so you've got that inner circle, and then that explodes out to these, which have not fully opened yet. And these are called Allium Schubertii, which is a bit of a mouthful, but they are such a firework. Look at it. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And the bees are all over these the other day. And they're about, I don't know, 30 centimetres across. Enormous. Aren't they incredible? Can't quite decide what's my favourite flower on the plot at the minute. It's probably the foxgloves, but I mean, these are pretty sensational. Allium Schubertii. Try and get your hands on some bulbs in the autumn if you can. Now, this is all a little bit embarrassing how weedy this section is behind and under the apple tree. It's wildflowers. It's my wildflower meadow. How about that? It's gone absolutely bonkers. Unfortunately, I've got this as well, really rampant. Now, it's hopefully not going to cause any damage to my tree, but it can engulf hedgerows and things like that very quickly. And they produce a seed. And I'm just actually going to rip this out a bit because I don't want all those seeds from growing and it becoming more of a problem in future years. But yes, the apple tree is looking okay. We've definitely got apples, but I have noticed some leaf damage where we've got a lot of aphid damage, such as this. Looks very bizarre, doesn't it? I'm pretty certain that's aphid damage. And there are ants there, look, they're probably farming the aphids. But I know it looks unsightly, it's not really going to do much damage. It's a good sized tree, the apples will be absolutely fine. Now, do you remember in April I bought another rose, a bush rose called Roald Dahl from David Austin Roses. It was a bare root rose that I planted in April, just here in front of the apple tree, where I lost a rhubarb a few years ago. And I can't believe how much growth it's put on. Let me show you. It's just here in front of the log, and I just can't believe that in no time at all it's grown this much and it's put on flower buds already. Look, I think we're going to have at least 5 roses in, you know, a matter of weeks now, and it's not even been in there very long at all. It blows my mind. More foxgloves. Got some nice healthy rhubarb down there. I've been harvesting stems of that and topping up the freezer. Down here I've got some of my potted bulbs that are just dying back. I'm not sure if I'm going to do many potted plants in replace of them for summer, so I've just put them there so they're out of sight essentially. But yes, don't go cutting back your foliage before it turns brown. Otherwise it won't bloom as well next year. And the wildlife area, wow. Gosh, the lupins have really come up in the last few days. Can't even see my stepping stone path anymore. And look, the Brunnera, Jack Frost, has grown so tall. And all those lovely little flowers of the Brunnera. Oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. It's a shame the sun isn't out to really make these colours pop today, but never mind. Look, there's a few more back here, and then we go into the purples. We've got some alliums down there, purple sensation. I planted those in the autumn. And then the white and purple lupin. Oh my gosh, and that plant continues over here as well. Oh, that's ridiculous. We've got so many more buds on the way, can you see? 1, 2, 3. So here's how the plot is looking from the shed at the end of May. And in this border, it's still all of the honesty. I'm not sure if it's going to flower. It'd normally be flowering around April, May, but I don't know if it's because the seasons are quite behind. Yes, my messy corner is incredibly messy, and I'm not ashamed of it. It's been a busy month. And I've just planted out today the amaranth. And I pinched them out as well. I've got a separate video coming very soon about my wedding flowers and the planting out of all of these and more. So stay tuned for that in the next week or so. Moving on to the pond, I've got some sad news. Some really sad news. So if you saw my pond update video just a couple of weeks ago, I shared that I think one of my fish is pregnant and I'm expecting tiny little baby fish. So I've been checking it every day, been really excited to see if I get any baby fish or eggs appear. And I came one day last week, and the first thing I noticed was the fish, spawning mop that I made, this, was slightly out of the tank, and I thought that's odd. And then I looked a bit closer and it's covered in holes. Something had been pecking at it, and sure enough, my 2 remaining fish have gone. So I don't know if a heron came or a magpie's fish, crows, I don't know. But something has taken them, despite me putting this mesh over the top. It still managed to get them. So yeah, I'm really sad about that. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do now, because this is becoming a bit of a mosquito trap. So yeah, I'm really, really sad about it. But that's life, I guess. In brighter news, the trellis back here and the ginkgo are looking incredible. The ginkgo leaves are all out now, like little green butterflies. The honeysuckle behind it is covered in buds. The clematis has been going wild, also covered in buds. And then next to that, we've got my climbing rose, the generous gardener, covered in aphids and buds. But that's all food for the birds, so I don't bother to get rid of them at all. And we've got loads of buds on the way on everything, so when this all comes out into bloom, it's going to look absolutely incredible. I recently planted a new honeysuckle to fill that gap, and that's doing well. On the table here, I've just got loads of seedlings that I've had left over from today. They're starting to harden off before I plant them out. Although I have planted out quite a few new things. In my carrot bed, I still call it the carrot bed even though it's not got carrots in it. We've got all the salad and the beetroot, they're doing well. And then, just want to show you this geranium I bought from work. Aren't the leaves incredible? Well, it's technically a pelargonium, sorry. I love that dark foliage. I'm going to have to speed things up because it's getting quite dark and grey and miserable. I'm sorry that the May tour is so gloomy. This empty bed is ready for the dahlias, coming soon. And then over here we've got some zinnias that are sulking a little bit because it's been so cold at night time. They really like it hot and dry, and it's a little bit my own fault. I probably should have potted them up again before I planted them out, but I ran out of room and patience. And next to them are the drumstick scabious, which are looking awful. I'm not too bothered about these. You'll see in a separate video more on that. This bed is looking absolutely gorgeous because we've got nigella that are just about to bloom any day. Because look at these flower heads, just about to pop. And these are a good backup since the drumstick scabious may not make it, or some of them might not, but these will have a lovely seed pod that can sort of be a substitute for that. And that will soon be ready for harvesting and drying, so I'll be able to take out this bed and put something new in its place. And down here we've got the cosmos. Again, I couldn't be bothered to pot them up again, so I just planted them out because the weather's been nice and the polytunnel has just been getting so hot and dry, and cosmos plants are quite thirsty, so I just decided to get them in the ground where they're much easier to look after. And I've interplanted them with another ornamental grass. This one is the Panicum elegans frosted explosion that I only recently learned is also called Agrostis nebulosa, the fibre optic grass. I'm sorry, I can't get my words out today. Yes, it has two names, which caught me out a little bit. And then in front of the orchestra of foxgloves are the straw flowers. We've got a range of colours. We've got white, salmon, yellow, blackberry and orange are on their way in the polytunnel. But let's just take a minute to appreciate these incredible foxgloves. And they're not even fully bloomed yet. And they're approaching 5 foot tall. The tallest one is taller than me. We've got dark pinks, light pinks, and the bees, wow, they love them. Oh, and right at the end we've got a pure white and a slightly yellow colour as well. I don't think I could even count how many stems there are. Makes me wish I had a spring wedding. Well, it doesn't, but gosh, if I did. Let's head into the tunnel where it might be a little bit warmer. Still very crowded in here, but we've got lots of tomatoes looking super healthy, although a little bit yellow. I think some of them are getting a little bit cold at night. Kobe scandens, the cup and saucer vine that I've had at home, and it's finally time to try and acclimatise it to outdoor life, despite it getting to 6 degrees at night. Hope it doesn't sulk too much with me over the next few days. But yes, we've got lots of tomatoes. I've potted up some of my chilies. These are the compact little variety called Basket of Fire or Ring of Fire, can't remember. It has upright chilies that are really colourful. We've got some basil, more of the ornamental grass that's not gone out, and these are my leftover amaranthus that I'm just keeping here as backup. I've got some little potted nasturtiums, so cute. And down here the tiny little seedlings are the orange straw flowers. The squash are doing really well. These will need potting up soon. That's the Jack Be Little, not very little, and Baby Boo, it's the white variety. So I've got 6 squash down here, and let's see what else we've got further down. The dahlias, dahlia jungle, so many of them, and they're all doing really well. I'll go into a bit more detail with these on my wedding flower update, but I have pinched some of them out. You can see there, the side shoots are coming where I've chopped its head off. Some of them are really far ahead, whereas others are, like this one, a lot further behind. So if yours are being really slow, like this one, don't be tempted to, you know, change its environment or water too heavily, because it might just be it's a bit slower than all its mates. The other day you would have seen me repot my lemon tree, and I forgot to mention that I did actually strip away all of the old last year's leaves, because last summer this got spider mite, but it's now pushed out all this new growth. All of these leaves are brand new, like all of this is young, supple new growth, and it's looking so much better. Look, give it a smell. It's just like lemon sherbet, freshly squeezed lemon. Honestly, I love it so much. And then you get the flowers, and the scent is one of the best fragrances as well. So still yet to get a lemon, but who knows, maybe this is the year. And I've got what I think are courgettes and my rudbeckia that are still rather small. These will probably go out where the grasses are. The one that I'm about to harvest, Brisa maxima, they'll probably go in its place. And then we've got a mishmash of more tomatoes, bit of a mixture. These were from a plant swap, I believe. Look, that one's even flowering. I'm so sorry you're not in the ground. I maybe will pot you up. The seedlings of the straw flowers. Oh, let's have a temperature check. See what I mean? So at the minute it's 16 degrees, but last night it reached 6.2, and in the day when the sun comes out it's getting over 30 degrees. So it's such a wild swing in temperatures at the minute, and I don't think they're really liking it, especially the cold nights. My poor chilies. But oh look, we've even got lots of new side shoots coming on these. Exciting. These are the cheeky curry, red curry squash, looking rather happy. Should probably get these into a 2-litre pot soon. And my leftover peas from today, I've just thought I'd leave them in case we get any casualties. And the lime that I potted up in my last video is responding really well to the feed and the repot, and it's got loads of flowers all over it. So hopefully we'll get some baby limes soon. I did a daily account the other day because somebody wanted to know how many I had. I think I've got about 45, but I do have room for them all, I promise. I've made sure of that, and they'll be going out in the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested in watching that video, there will be one, despite having previously done a planting dahlias video, because it will be part of the wedding flower series. Gosh, it's getting quite nippy. I'm gonna get home, I think, but we're going to take one last look at those foxgloves before we go. So here we are at the end of May 2023, and this is how the plot is looking, and I'm really quite impressed and pleased with how spring is going so far. Now let's go say goodbye to these foxgloves. Oh, they're going to be here for quite a few more weeks yet, and I know that they've got little side shoots as well, so they're going to have baby foxgloves off the side of the big ones. So yeah, they're going to be here for a while. We'll see if they're still in the next plot tour, but I'm sure you'll see them again as well in the next video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope it's a little bit warmer where you are today. Let me know what's growing well for you, how things are going, what's your spring like. Take care, and I'll see you soon.